Let me take you back to one of the hardest moments of my life. I was lying in a hospital bed, recovering from surgery, barely able to move, hooked up to IVs, surrounded by the beeping of machines and the chill of fluorescent lights. You'd think that'd be the hardest part, but it wasn't. The real pain wasn't from the surgery. It was from what I found out while I was fighting to get better. See, I was supposed to be in a safe place. A place where the people who love you show up, hold your hand and tell you it's going to be okay. And for the first day or two, she did. My girlfriend, the woman I had been with for nearly 4 years, showed up with flowers. She sat beside me, smiled, and told me not to worry about a thing. I believed her, because when you love someone, you don't expect them to be lying to your face. But the visits started getting shorter. Then she stopped coming altogether. First, it was, "Work's been crazy." Then it turned into silence. I thought maybe she was overwhelmed. I gave her the benefit of the doubt, because I always did. Then, one night, I got a message from a mutual friend. It was short. Just said, "Hey, I thought you should know something." That text turned my stomach. He told me he saw her out at a bar, with someone else, holding hands, acting like a couple. My heart dropped. I wanted to believe it was a mistake, a misunderstanding. So I asked him to send a photo. He did, and that was the moment everything changed. There she was, sitting close to another guy, leaning in like they were in their own little world. I stared at that picture for a long time. I was in a hospital bed, hooked up to machines, trying to get better, and she was out there pretending we didn't exist. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just laid there, numb, completely empty. The nurses came in to check my vitals, and I faked a smile. I didn't want them to know. I didn't want anyone to know how broken I felt. That night, I didn't sleep. My body was tired, but my mind was racing. Playing back every moment, every word, every time I said, "I love you," and meant it, not knowing she was already somewhere else, mentally, emotionally, physically. And that's how it starts. While I was healing, she was cheating. And from that moment on, I knew, as soon as I could stand, I'd walk out of that hospital and never look back. The next few days felt like I was floating through a fog. It was like I had one foot in recovery and the other stuck in heartbreak. Physically, my body was healing. But mentally, emotionally, I was wrecked. Every beep of the machines felt louder. Every meal tasted worse. Every nurse who came in with a warm smile reminded me that the one person who was supposed to be there wasn't. You know that feeling when you're alone in a crowded place? That's how the hospital started to feel. People all around me, but none of them were her. And the thing is, I wasn't even angry at first. I was just crushed, confused, like my mind couldn't catch up with the truth my eyes had already seen. I started replaying everything. The nights we stayed up laughing, the future we talked about, even the morning she kissed me on the forehead before I was wheeled into surgery. How do you go from that to this? I began noticing things I had brushed off before. Her pulling away when I talked about marriage, her getting cold when I got sick the first time. The little lies she told that I ignored because I thought love meant forgiveness. But now, every memory came back like a sharp edge. She didn't just cheat on me, she gave up on me when I needed her most. And that realization hurt more than anything the doctors could have told me. I was in that hospital fighting to get better, not just for myself, but because I thought I had something to come home to, a reason to push through the pain. But now, I was fighting for something else. I was fighting to get strong enough to walk away. The loneliness in that hospital room became both a curse and a gift. It was in that silence I finally heard my own voice, the one I'd ignored for too long. The one that said, "You deserve better." And I do. We all do. It hit me that sometimes, the people we love the most are the ones who leave the deepest scars. And maybe that's what betrayal really is. Not just someone hurting you, but doing it when you trusted them with everything. I cried once. Just once. It wasn't loud, just silent tears rolling down my face while the machines beeped beside me. Not because I wanted her back, but because I missed the version of her I thought was real. I didn't tell the nurses. I didn't tell my family. I kept it inside, letting the pain turn into quiet strength. I told myself, when I leave this place, I won't be broken. I'll be free. And that thought, that one thought, became my fuel. I used to think that betrayal was just something you read about online or saw in movies. I never thought it would show up in my life like this. But when it did, it cracked something inside me. And weirdly enough, that crack is where the light started coming through. Lying in that hospital room, I had no distractions, no noise, no pretending. Just me, four walls, and a truth I couldn't ignore anymore. I had been loving someone who didn't love me the same way back. That's a hard truth to sit with, but it's also the beginning of real healing. I started thinking about everything I gave up for that relationship, how many times I downplayed my own needs, how often I let things slide that didn't sit right with me. I realized I had built a version of her in my head, this perfect, supportive, loyal partner, and ignored the signs when the real version didn't match up. Here's the truth. The people who are meant to stand beside you don't disappear when life gets hard. They show up, they stay, they comfort, they make you feel safe, not suspicious. So if someone walks away when you're at your lowest, don't chase them. Don't beg, let them go. You're not losing a soulmate, you're losing someone who couldn't handle your reality. I started journaling from the hospital bed, something I hadn't done since I was a teenager. I wrote down the things I wanted in a partner, the values I had ignored, and the red flags I promised myself I'd never overlook again. I didn't want bitterness to be the final chapter of my story. I wanted growth. I wanted peace. And it wasn't just about her anymore. I had to look at myself too. Why did I stay quiet when something felt off? Why did I think love had to be earned through sacrifice? I'd always been a fixer, the kind of person who stays and works things out, even when it hurts. But this time, I learned that walking away isn't giving up. It's choosing yourself. If you're listening to this and you've been through something similar, I want you to hear this clearly. You are not stupid for trusting someone. You are not weak for loving fully. What someone else did to you says more about their heart than yours, and you're not broken. You're just in the middle of healing. I walked out of that hospital not just to leave her, but to find me. And that's the value I want to leave with you. Sometimes pain is the beginning of clarity. Sometimes losing someone shows you what you really need. And sometimes, rock bottom is where the real rebuilding begins. So take your pain, sit with it, learn from it, but don't let it define you. Let it refine you. I'm not gonna lie. Walking out of that hospital wasn't some powerful movie-style moment. I didn't strut out like a hero. I was still sore, still tired, still trying to figure out what the hell just happened. The hospital doors didn't close behind me like some dramatic symbol of freedom. They just closed, and I stood outside, blinking in the sunlight, with a plastic bag of discharge papers and a weight in my chest. And that's real life. It's not always glamorous. Most of the time it's quiet, messy, awkward. You don't always know what your next move is. You just know you can't stay where you were. When I got home, the apartment was exactly how we left it before the surgery. Her coffee mug still on the counter, her scarf still draped over the back of the chair. And for a second, a small, dumb part of me hoped she'd be there. That maybe this was all just a misunderstanding. She wasn't. And it wasn't. She had moved on like it was nothing. And you know what? That's when it hit me. I had to do the same. Not out of revenge, not out of pride, but because holding on to someone who already let go doesn't keep you safe. It keeps you stuck. I didn't block her. I didn't send angry texts. I didn't try to make her feel guilty. I just let it be. I deleted the pictures, tossed out the stuff she left behind, and I sat with the silence. Some nights it felt like it would swallow me whole, but little by little, it started feeling like peace instead of pain. I started taking short walks, talking to a therapist, calling friends I hadn't spoken to in months. And the more I did that, the more I realized how much of myself I had put on hold in that relationship. I had stopped doing the things I loved, stopped checking in with myself. I was so focused on making us work that I completely forgot about me. And I know I'm not the only one. That's why I'm telling this story, not just for closure, but because maybe you've been there too. Maybe you've poured your heart into someone who didn't pour back. Maybe you've convinced yourself that you're hard to love because they made you feel that way. But the truth is, your worth isn't measured by how someone else treats you. It's okay to be heartbroken. It's okay to cry over someone who didn't deserve you. That doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. And sometimes, the most authentic thing you can do is admit that you're not okay, and then take one step forward anyway. So no, my story doesn't end with some perfect revenge or dramatic twist. It ends with me, broken, healing, human, choosing peace over pain, and myself over someone who walked away. If you've made it this far, first off, thank you, not just for listening to my story, but for letting me be real with you. No filters, no fluff, just the truth. I didn't tell this story to get sympathy. I told it because I know what it's like to feel invisible in your own relationship, to give everything and still feel like you're not enough, to lay in a hospital bed, fighting for your life, and realize the person you thought would be there simply wasn't. And if that's you right now, if you're sitting in silence, carrying pain that no one else sees, I want you to know this. You are not alone. The world tells us to be strong, to move on, to not talk about the hard stuff. But healing starts when we stop pretending and start speaking. That's why I shared my story. Not for drama, not for revenge, but because someone out there needs to hear that it's okay to walk away. It's okay to start over. It's okay to choose you. So if this hit home for you, I invite you to take one small step today. Maybe it's reaching out to a friend. Maybe it's journaling your feelings. Or maybe it's just sitting with your truth, no matter how heavy it feels. And if this story helped you feel seen, drop a comment and tell me your thoughts. You don't have to share all the details. Just let me know you're here, that you're healing, that you're finding your strength again. Don't forget to like the video if it gave you something real to hold on to. It helps more people find stories like this. Stories that don't just entertain, but actually mean something. And if you're into these kinds of honest voiceover stories from real people, hit that subscribe button. We've built a little corner here where truth matters, where healing is talked about, and where you don't have to go through stuff alone. I've got more stories coming, ones about betrayal, growth, messy relationships, and those quiet wins that no one else sees. You're part of this now. So let's keep going, together. Because here's the thing. Heartbreak doesn't get the final word. You do. And maybe, just maybe, your next chapter starts right here.